Yo, 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 we live on location. Staying at home though. Me and the blackest one here in Orlando, and we got the very, very special guest. This is women's basket. This is basketball royalty.
Royalty,
Forget
Hall of
just women's.
Fame.
This is basketball royalty in general. We got the all-time great Hall of Fame, legendary Tina Thompson in the building, and now coaching at University of Virginia. Y'all young girls need to go run up on her. Appreciate you for pulling up, Tina. This is special to us.
Appreciate it. Q, are you a Pac fan?
Yeah, of
Oh, okay.
course.
Well, no, that's my guy. So, I noticed the hat, but I was like, okay, we could have this
Yeah, it's
conversation
a little
after game.
Tupac
Yeah,
down
well,
his
I saw the
building.
all eyes on me, so I was like, okay,
Yeah.
I like it. Good seeing you guys' faces, D and Q. Darius, I haven't seen you in so long. It's crazy.
I know, I got face right now.
Yeah, you've grown up.
Brought to you by AT&T 5G.
When you first made it to the WNBA, who's the first person to bust your ass?
When I first made it to the WNBA, who was the first person? Jennifer Gillum,
Jennifer Gillum. She's a sleeper.
Mississippi, killer.
It oftentimes are the sleepers.
Yeah.
So she gave you work.
Well, like Jen, she wasn't really a sleeper. It was just she was old school. She spent so much time like overseas. So she came, when she came back, like there were so many just kind of like, women's basketball greats, but they hadn't been at home playing in front of everybody.
Yeah.
But Jennifer had this like slow motion fall away. It was just hard for anybody to guard. So it wasn't necessarily the buckets. It was just that it was one of those shots, like a Kareem hook shot that you just
Right.
couldn't get to,
You couldn't stop.
couldn't stop it.
Inglewood, Morningside.
Yeah.
Why you decide to go to Morningside? Was this
Well, like I'm originally from Los Angeles, like born and raised. So Inglewood was far a little bit,
yeah.
from where I grew up. But I actually was supposed to go to Palisades High School because it was the high school that was kind of like, sister or brother to my junior high school. But education wise, it was amazing. But I went there for the first practice. It was kind of like a tryout. And, the coach was like, Tina, you don't have to try out. Just kind of show up because they kind of knew who I was. And we're like, LA Palisades is in Brentwood, right? So
Right.
I didn't know what to expect. And I showed up to the first practice and like half of the chicks trying out had on jean shorts, Daisy Dukes. And
Oh,
in
wow.
LA, we wear these flip flops, they're kind of like, a beachy, like rainbow. They're called rainbow flip flops. Like they had on flip flops and jean
Hoop it?
shorts and like baby tees. And I was like, what is going on here?
Right.
I went home, I left. Now, mind you, I missed the bus because I was being bussed out there. So I actually had to take public transportation home. I was like, Mom, we got to do something. And that was it, like one of my family friends made some calls and made the connection. And then, by the next week I was going to Morningside.
So they had sandals and Daisy Dukes on
Like
actually on the court.
Daisy Dukes. Well, they were all just out there like socializing. And I was just thinking like, is this the basketball tryouts? I like walked up like, this can't be, I must be in the wrong place.
Right.
It was for sure basketball tryouts. It's like, yeah, this is not for me.
so when you got the foresight, like what was it like? Like, did they have a history? Or like was it a history that you know about before them?
Yeah, well, I didn't know it because I'm from LA. And, if you're from LA, you're from LA, especially when you're younger. If you're from Inglewood, you're from Inglewood. If you're from
Yeah.
Compton, you don't start like moving and mixing until you get a little older. But I just heard that they had a good basketball team. So anything other than what I had and just girls who can play and just were serious about basketball. But then when I got there, I realized the history. Lisa Leslie went there, Byron
Nice.
Scott, Inglewood, Morningside, Eldon Campbell, so it was
Okay.
like some serious basketball players that went there and they were just good in sports in general. I mean, it was just kind of one of those predominantly people of color
Right.
high school, you know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
There
Yeah.
was melanin everywhere.
Yes.
And I mean, it was just talent. So it was a good environment to be in. It was just a little bit tougher than I was used to. So that was an adjustment.
When did you start like making some noise where you was getting offers from college? Like what year was that when you was like, oh, you like one of the best girls in California?
So it actually kind of happened like right away. So at the time when I was in junior high school in LA, our junior high school still went to the ninth grade. So I was in junior high
Like,
school.
look,
They
you
don't
finally
even
got
get us
somebody who
around.
he finally had somebody who has that in common with him. I have never heard of that. I have never heard of
ninth
that.
grade. So elementary school was, from kindergarten to sixth grade, and junior high school, seventh and ninth, and high school.
Oh, no. Never heard of it.
Absolutely. So I was still in junior high school. And then when I went to Morningside, I started in the 10th grade. I didn't realize until I was in like Inglewood School District that people were going to school, to high school in the ninth grade. So, I kind of stepped on campus and they had a rich women's basketball history or just sports history in general. And I started getting letters, but I didn't know it. Like I was a basketball player just because I loved it. Like my brother played it, the guys in our neighborhood, like David Fizdale, I consider a brother, him and my
Coach Fizz, that's my
like best
man.
friends. So like we grew up walking to the park, staying there all day, all night and leaving. And I was influenced by them. So it's just what I did, it's what I did every single day. So when I got to high school, I wasn't thinking scholarship. I knew I was going to college. I wanted to go to Harvard. Like that was my goal. And I was getting all these letters, but my coach never gave them to me.
Yeah, one of those coaches.
Thought, like I was going to get the big head or something like that, where I was clueless. So one day he was just like, you're so focused. I think that you've earned this. So he comes out with these boxes. And I'm like, what is that? And he's like, these letters are for you. And I'm like, from who? Like, colleges, like they want you to go to their school. And I was like, what? So he takes me home with all these boxes and we take them in, to my house. And my mom is kind of like, what's going on? I'm like, Mom, Coach Scott just told me that there's letters in these boxes and colleges want me to come to their school and that they're going to pay for it for free. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I hope there's one in there from Harvard. Of course it wasn't, but it was everybody else.
Oh, that's dope. Like,
so how did that process begin for you when you get to the point where you decide to go to SC? How did that process play out for you?
Well, I mean, I was one of those girls, like, I'm a Cali girl, like, through and through. I'm like, I'm never leaving California. Like, I'm not leaving anywhere else. Like, there's no place in the world that I would want to live. Of course, you grow up. But so for me, the thought process is that I was going to stay on the West Coast and realizing that, I could play basketball at Harvard, but I would have to pay for it because they didn't give scholarships. And then there's all these opportunities for a scholarship and going to school for free. Is like, okay, Harvard's off the table. So I was then, my number one school was Stanford. Because to me, it was like Ivy League level, private school, just education wise off the chart. And they were very good, just rich basketball history for women's basketball as well. So I was like, okay, Stanford it is. So the whole entire time, everyone else didn't know it, but I was like, I'm going to Stanford. So I just kind of go through the recruiting process and SC is now recruiting me. And I just fell in love, like, with the coaching staff, like Coach Stanley, like she was just kind of one of those, like, real, like, old school coaches. Like, she was honest. She was one of the few people, probably the only, in the process that didn't promise me anything. She wasn't telling me, oh, you're so great. You can do this. You can come in. You can do this. Offering me stuff that was illegal. Like, it wasn't, it wasn't any of that. She was just real. Like, this is what I believe you can do, but it's up to you. Like, I'm not giving you anything. I'm not promising you anything, but I don't feel like I need to. And I like her. She speaks to my person,
It's funny how us athletes love to hear that, like, well, not all, but like a lot of us love to hear, like, hey, you got to work for it or it's going to be a challenge. We don't want to hear that it's just going to be laid out for us. So I love to hear that.
Oh, if you're a real one, yeah, that's what you want to hear for sure.
When you get there and, now you in college, now you got freedom to kind of, be on campus and no parents around and stuff. Like, how was that to play them 4 years under the coach and be at USC and be at home?
Well, it was good. I mean, just because of just like my family dynamic, like I'm one of 5 kids. And so my mom and my dad, like we were all like close and we all played sports. So we were used to kind of just being around each other and connected. So then being able to come to my games, like that was great. I mean, I would go home quite a bit, especially in my freshman year.
Yeah.
Have somebody come get me, or like there were even times where I would like catch the bus home just because, I just miss being around my little brother and sister and just kind of being in that environment. But it was good. I mean, I was easy. Like I was a super nerd, so I didn't get into any trouble. I went to class every single day. Every single day. My teammates would be like, dude, like you could miss one day. There had to be an issue if I missed a day. So I had to be sick or we were like traveling for basketball. I mean, it was just like, I didn't want to miss anything. That's just kind of how like my brain works. Like I have to know the why. I have to have an understanding because I feel like if I know the why, if I get it, then, I could be the best version of myself in whatever it is that I'm doing. So I didn't want to miss anything.
That's dope.
The team wise, them 4 years with the teams that y'all had, like, how did you feel you did? Like, did it feel like y'all got better to like every year?
Oh, well, for my freshman year, we were good. Lisa actually went to USC too. So
Yeah.
we both went to Morningside and we didn't play there together. But then we played 1 year together at USC and we were good. Like our high-low, like 2 men a game was
Right.
crazy. Like we were killing people. And, as Lisa, Lisa, like she's a worker. Like, she wants to be the best version of herself, like as well. So it was competitive. And I believe that I grew the most in my freshman year just because our competitive nature. So even though we started together, every day in practice, we played against each other.
Yeah. So she she was the bar for you. She was that bar for you.
Yeah, I mean, well, in a sense, I guess kind of in that level, but like I play with dudes. So like for me, like,
right.
I'm like, you got to double team me.
No girl out here
chick that can guard me. Yeah, like I'm playing with dudes. Like that difference between the two, like I grew up playing with guys. So from that perspective, I mean, I wasn't necessarily a talker, but like I knew, like you have to send two. If you're trying to play me with just one chick, it's a problem. So, it was good. Lisa and I had the both like mindset from just the same mindset from a competitive nature. So we battled every single day. So we made each other better. So her leaving, it was kind of like I didn't have that anymore. So I was instantly put into a leadership role. So I even went home even more just so I could play like at my park, like with my guys. I would even play noontime hoops with the staff, the faculty and staff at USC. So like the men would come and play, like coaches in the athletic department. So I would actually go and play noontime hoops with them before practice just so that I could get like that kind of like extra like push.
So you really was a gym rat out here. You was a hooper, going and finding a run, whether it's guys, girls, whatever. Wherever the bump at, you was trying to find it.
Oh, always with dudes. I never went to an open run with chicks. Like never. It just wasn't like, it wasn't a part of.
It didn't do it for you, huh?
Yeah, it just wasn't. I mean, it probably would have been fun, but it was like I wasn't looking for fun. At that time it wasn't there, the WNBA wasn't there. So the only thing, I didn't want to go overseas because I wanted to go to law school. So the only thing, the highest thing for me was to be an Olympian. And to me, I'm like, like Olympians just don't go and just play just for fun. Like we find fun in it, but we're playing for the competition. So that was just kind of what I was seeking, like all the time.
When you would go play against them guys in the beginning, was it like kind of laughing, taking it easy on you, and then once you started really showing you could hoop, did it turn from that to them really going at you?
At my park, it wasn't like that because they kind of like grew me, like I grew up around them. There was a couple times where I went to other parks because in LA there were like runs everywhere where like some guys tried to like disrespect me a little bit. And,
Right.
there was only one time I went by myself and like this guy, like he just went at me, like elbowed me in the face. And I was kind of like, okay. So then, of course, your level of competition just starts like, it just goes to another level. And I just started killing him, elbowing him back. And then he called me out of my name. So I'm like, okay, but I'm by myself. So I was like, all right. So you guys have these runs how many times a week? Like when is
Right.
everybody
Let
here?
me.
And he's like, oh, yeah. It's like, yeah. You got to come back. You got to come back. But the next weekend, I came back with my brother.
Yeah.
The dude was in there, and I was like, that's him right there.
We know how
So
that
my
went.
brother was like, Playboy, let me holler at you. So I'm like, I'm not going to talk to you crazy. That's not what I do. I don't get in arguments with men or anything like that. Like, I'm not getting in a fight with a man. But yeah, I'm going to send those people after you. So we'll see you soon.
But that tells like your game. Like one of the favorite things I like you do on your game, your back to the basket, your turnaround jumper, your fadeaway, like that's can tell, like, when dudes pressuring you put that hip on them, like, oh, hold up, slow up.
It's so funny. Like every aspect of my game comes from playing with guys because I wasn't like the tallest. I wasn't like the strongest. Like I was always overpowered in a certain type in some way. So I had to be tricky. So I mean, if you pay attention, like sometimes, like most times, I do hella moves, like shakes. Like, I'm like the dream shake, the up and under. I'm in you with the spin, like
definitely.
every
Pivot
single thing.
game strong.
So it was like I watched the game in that way. So I just stole from so many people.
Yeah.
Like I love Dream. I watched Dream's game like crazy. I grew up in LA, so I'm a Showtime Laker diehard. So James Worthy was my guy. So, I'm stealing from, all these different, guys and their games and kind of like what they did. I mean, Kiki Vandeweghe, like I could just kind of go down the line of like different moves, that I just kind of stole from people like over time to just kind of add to my arsenal because it was necessary.
Up and unders and stuff like that.
Yo, these young kids probably have no clue, but Kiki Vandeweghe was one of the illest people in the triple threat you will ever see. D, do you remember that summer we worked out with him for like a week? This man, like, Tina, before we even moved, we did 1,000,000 moves without taking a dribble, just from the pivot.
Without taking a pivot, without the pivot.
It was insane. He is a mad scientist in the pivot and with the little intricacies of the game. Like, he was so detailed. We were just sitting there like, bro, we ain't dribbled yet. Like,
no,
crazy.
Absolutely. I kind of had it in my game, but just not with the same precision that I had like when I became a professional. But one of my really good friends is James Posey. And JP and I would be in the gym. We were in Houston together. JP was living there. He actually wasn't playing there at the time, but he was living in Houston. And we would work out at Westside Tennis Club all the time. It was our practice facility at the time. And we would just be in there like working. And Jay, like he came to our games. So he was like, I want to show you something. Like you do the Kiki, but like just your footwork, like you have a negative step, like you bringing it back, like you need to like come at him like right away. So he showed it to me a couple times and I'm like, got it, So after that, it was like perfected and I just used it kind of in that way. And he had spent some time with Kiki, so he kind of like knew it. I was like, okay. I mean, I was just really blessed to just have all these people around my journey that just contributed, to just like my ultimate just growth, and just how I grew. It was, I'm just crazy blessed, just the people that I've, run into.
Straight up. So you hear it's gonna be a WNBA, and you hear they finna bring the best of the best from back from overseas and everything. So now it's somewhere to go after after college. Like, how did you feel when you heard it's gonna be a women's league and like you gonna be able to play against the best of the best, all the legends and all the people that you used to hear about that was good? They finna be in this league. So how was that?
It was cool. Like there was a little excitement for me about it, but I told you guys in the beginning, I was like a super nerd. So I did my I did my research, and just checked the history. And I was kind of like, I don't know about this. Women's professional leagues in America just had not been successful. There had been so many attempts and so many failures. I was like, I don't know. The fact that the NBA is behind it, then, that gives it a chance, but I'm just, not sure. So I just kind of went about just, my way. Like I was graduating that year. I had already started taking classes, to take the Kaplan classes to take the LSAT. So it was, me kind of moving on with life, like as planned. And then I got a call from Renee Brown. She was the second in command, the director of ops for the WNBA, while I was in my Kaplan's class. So again, you didn't really have like all these, modes we can turn our phone on to, like at that time. So my phone like is ringing. So I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm panicking. I'm embarrassed. Like everybody who knows me knows where I am right now. They would not be calling me. So I got out and then I listened to the message, and it was Renee, and she was kind of, telling me that they wanted me to come to the WNBA. So I was like, wow, I listened to it probably 5-6 times. Like, this is crazy. And so, I went home, I told my mom, I went to school the next day, and Keyshawn Johnson was at USC at that time, and he was one of my good friends, and he had just gotten drafted. So he had an agent and all that kind of stuff. So I was just kind of asking him about it, picking his brain. And he set me up with my first agent. That was his agent at the time. And we just started having conversations with him. So the first initial conversation, they told me how much money they were offering me. And I told Jerome Stanley, who was my agent, absolutely not. And I left his office in Beverly Hills and I didn't come back. He was like, Tina, like, did you really just leave? I said, absolutely. It's like, do you know that money that they just offered me? Like, I could get food stamps in California. Like, I would be below the poverty line. Like,
that is crazy.
Not. I said, no. I'm like, the path that I'm on right now is where I need to be. So, he called me a few times and I was like, Jerome, do not call me back unless they are serious. No, I'm not doing that. I've worked too hard. This plan has been in place for years now.
Yeah.
Since I was a little kid, like I'm not changing. And Jerome did his work and they changed. I mean, literally, they went from offering me $30,000 to like 10 times as much. And, the ABL, I don't know if you guys are how familiar you are with that, but the ABL had started before the WNBA. So there were 2 leagues.
Right, I remember.
WNBA in the summer, but the ABL started in the winter. And they were offering me like $600,000. So I'm like, you offering me $30,000? I'm like, are you serious?
That's crazy.
I think it literally was like 34. It was like less than $35,000. I absolutely cannot do that. They're like, it's for 2 months. I'm like, so what?
Yeah, that's crazy. Let me ask you this. How did that, like, for us, I mean, obviously us and the whole world, we had the 92 Dream Team with Michael, Magic, and Bird. How did the 96 team with the WNBA women, how did that impact you?
Oh, it set the tone. I mean, I think that any women's basketball player, if you were a for real player, you were tuned in. I was waking
up. We were too.
I was waking up in the middle of the night like, wow, like they are. I mean, I was on the journey with them. I was like, watching the specials and stuff like that. Like, this is the coolest thing ever. Like, they are changing how people see our game. Of course, there were some, universities that had like a huge following and stuff like that, but just the game as a whole, they just changed how everybody just kind of looked at our game because they were sweeping people. Like
Yeah,
it was amazing. And just the individuality and just all the different stories, like it just made, in my opinion, it just gave us a very personal connection, to the rest of the world. And just people like saw us different. So that those guys changed the game. They did.
Yeah, for me, I can remember being a young kid watching, and I had kind of the same similar effect the original Dream Team. I mean, like you said, they had commercials, they was popping up on TV shows, and remember they came on Martin, and they came and whooped up on Martin and Cole
Right.
and them, and
It
I
was
was
Don
like, dude,
Carroll, yeah.
it was the dopest thing. It was like they really for me that was the first time where they put y'all on the stage, the women's game, and like made y'all stars and made y'all, Wheaties boxes and all of those different things. And it felt like the playing field was getting kind of level in that sense, as far as like the notoriety that they got. Like I was like, man, Dawn Staley, Lisa Ledge. I was like, this is crazy. Like, you know what I'm saying? And that was my first time where I knew like the women's names and who they were, and like I'm like, I want to watch the games now. Like you said, I want to watch them. They were sweeping people, blowing them out. I was like, it's exciting. So they definitely put it on the map for me.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that Nike's influence also. And,
Yes.
I mean, I'm absolutely not being biased because I'm totally a Nike athlete. Like I'm a lifer, but it was the time, the effort, the money that they poured into that team to to finance them, to finesse them in a way that people gave them respect. How they started traveling was different. The hotels that they stayed in, the product, all those things, those commercials, all that, the investment that they made in that group, again, changed it. When you have a company over here that's respectable, it sets the tone. It's the leader in everything, sports related, from lifestyle to just sport. And then they are backing and saying, okay, they're valid, like they're legitimate. You guys need to pay attention. That for sure changes like how people view things, and just wanting them to pay attention, be a part. So the talent of the women, undeniable, but
Yeah.
the support of Nike as a brand was second to none.
Just like we watched the Dream Team, like, just so much talent. You never seen all the women, like a whole all-star team, just killing like that. Behind the back pass, it's like the chemistry, how they were playing, how
And
they
it was
dominated.
Showtime
Like,
too.
that was just like
Sure it was
amazing, like to see that. And it seemed like for the women's game, they have a dream team every time they go to the Olympics. They have
we do. We do.
like dream team every year. It'd be like, man, they got all the hitters. Like every time they go to the Olympics, they got all of them.
It's like it on the women's side, and I'm not saying that it's not like this on the men, but just because that is all we had, like that was the top, like representing your country and just having a connection to basketball in the US. There's a commitment and like a sacrifice and a love that everybody has about being a part of it. For the guys, like they had a choice. They had the NBA, and they're getting paid, money that lasts a lifetime, like in a way that they didn't have to play in USA basketball. For us, it was, the NBA, like in a sense, it was kind of like the pinnacle of, what you do from a career perspective. So just the commitment to just the national team program that we have is just, it's crazy. Like the sacrifice by all these world-class players. It is just a camaraderie that you just don't get in a lot of things.
Was the Olympic team the first time you've been on a team where everybody on the team is one of them dogs? Like everybody on the team is just that good? Was that the first time? Because you played with so many men.
I played with Comets. Like, no.
That's what I was about to say. Now in H-Town,
yeah.
I'm talking about, but from top to bottom, you had.
No, from top to bottom. It was just that people didn't know them. But like we had like players on our team that were, the focus was myself, Cheryl, and Cynthia. But Jeanette Arcane was cold. I mean, like probably if not, other than Mark, she is the best Brazilian player that has ever played the game. Jeanette Arcane was the best individual player on our team. I know that sounds crazy to say. Myself, Cynthia, and Cheryl, she was the best individual player on our team because she could do everything. She played from the 1 to the 4 on our team. So if we went small, like I was playing the 5 and Jeff was playing the 4. And then you had Cheryl, Cynthia, and Kim, right?
She's so skinny playing the 4. Skinny as a bug.
Yeah. And then she would play the 1. Like she played the 1 on our team. And then she played the 2 and the 3. Like she played every position with the exception of like playing the 5. And just individually, she was, I mean, not that Cheryl and Cynthia and myself like weren't, you know, that kind of goes without saying, but she was unguardable. It was, we would do these tours and we would go to like different countries and play like these club teams in the off season. And we went to Brazil and Jeanette was, every club team that we played, they were inviting her to come and play for their team. So she played for her home team and then she played for everybody else. Every single guard on our all WNBA team tried to guard her. And she probably averaged 50. Now, we won, but not one person.
To stop her.
Teresa Weatherspoon, I think she did the best job, but she probably had 35 of the 50.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So how was that though, playing with that Comets team when you came in and winning championships and being
and finally leaving LA and going to Houston.
I know.
And then just being like for the longest, it was like y'all were the standard in the W. Everybody was like, ain't nobody else gonna win. It was like y'all were the standard. How was that being a part of that?
Well, it was, the funny thing about that is that we knew that we were really good before anybody else knew that we were good. So in that first year, we weren't even predicted to make the playoffs. So they didn't pick us to be in the playoffs. So that was kind of, you know, Coop, if you guys know Coop, she is, she forever has a chip on her shoulder, you know, like she does not at all like to be disrespected. And she just assumes that you're going to disrespect her. So how she comes at you is so hard at all times. It's just kind of who she is. It's, you know, just one of those characteristics, just the beauty of who she is. She's just that competitive. And the other people that we had Tammy Jackson, we had Wanda Guyton, we had Amaya Valdemoro. She was, you know, a player from Spain, one of their best like young players. We had Elena Chikova. Like we had all these players that were so good from where they were and from their country, and people just didn't know. Like the other players in the WNBA did because they played against them, but like the world, the audience didn't know. So we knew that we were good. We knew that we were really good. And it's a credit to Carol Dawson. He was the president of the Houston Rockets. He picked that team. So, I mean, his basketball mind is unbelievable. Like he picked our team, including me, from like a box of tapes. So he just went through hours and hours and hours of tape and didn't know any of us, hadn't met us, had no idea who I was. And blessing, he told Les, you know, this is who we need to pick. Van Chancellor wanted to draft Pam McGee. It was one of the McGee sisters who went to USC with Cheryl Miller. He wanted to draft her. And Les was like, no, you know, or Carol CD was like, we're going with Tina. So that's how I became the number 1 pick. But it was just one of those things where just the attitude of everybody, when you talk about just kind of being a dog, like they were the best from where they came from. So their attitude was, you know, we win. Like, that's what I do. And everyone just kind of fell, you know, in line. We didn't have Cheryl in that first year because she was having her son, Jordan. She was pregnant. So it's just me, Cynthia, and Jeanette, and Kim. And we just kind of went to work. Like, when you have Cynthia kind of leading you, like, just your attitude and your mindset is different. Like, I thought that I was a killer and didn't really know that there was kind of like another level to it. but she just had another level in her. So when I think for me, like other than Cheryl Miller, because I think that Cheryl Miller is the greatest women's basketball player of all time.
Agreed.
Easy call, like no conversation. Cynthia was the one player where I was like, I can follow her lead.
Straight up, she used to be in that junk. She used to have the crowd.
I wasn't raising the roof, but
yeah, the crowd going high.
Her work ethic was crazy. I hadn't seen anything like it.
When I seen y'all three kind of form together when Soups came back and so forth on, it was like, because a lot of the women starting that league, you know, you didn't hear too much about too many of them. You heard about the few. So when you start doing your research and trying to find out, because you loving the game, trying to find out who's who, when y'all started playing together, it was like, y'all started winning them champs. It was like, man, how did they let all three of them be on the same team at the same time? They winning everything.
Let me tell you, I seriously think that, you know, just people, I think it's just being like, people being like just sleepers, or just people, they're like sleeping on you. I literally think that I have been like, I'm a serial sleeper. Like for some reason, like people just think that they could just like sleep, you know what I mean? So it was kind of like, yeah, you know, she's good, but you know, her hair is too neat. Her ponytail is too neat. She wears lipstick. Like it can't be that serious, you know, like just the mindset. And then, you know, Cynthia, I mean, maybe because I was from LA, like I heard the rumblings about kind of what she was doing overseas. Like I didn't see it, but I knew. And I'm like, I knew, and I'm not kind of like in, you know, the basketball, like, no, you know, just because I was over here like in my own lane. But just for some reason, like people just didn't see it. Like Jeanette Arcane, if you watch the Olympics, she's like one of the players like leading that team. Yeah. So how do you not pick her? So I just think that just people, they weren't students, like they weren't informed. And Carol Dawson is a student of the game. Like he picked our entire team from a box of tapes. So he just watched everybody. It wasn't just us in there. It was the whole league. So he's going through all this film and he picks our team from a box of cassette tapes, VHS. It's crazy.
The 99 season when you guys had to deal with the loss of your teammate Kim Perot, how hard was that to overcome, and then how much did it mean to still win that championship?
Man, that is I think other than I think that probably like I know that the biggest loss in my life before then was losing my grandmother, my mom's mother. Kim, y'all gonna make me cry today. Kim, she that was literally one of the toughest moments in my life. Like it
I can remember that.
She was like the glue to our team. Like we had, you know, big personalities. Like Cynthia and Cheryl had big personalities. Like it was a wonder why they were so good, you know, because they were just big, you know, they were stars. Like they were just bright and just kind of who they were. And, you know, Cynthia had to share when she was with Cheryl Miller, you know, like, but it's Cheryl Miller, you know what I mean? Right. Like, so you don't say anything when you're on the team with Cheryl Miller, you know, but Cynthia went away and she, you know, proved herself and she turned herself into a player. And, you know, Cheryl had just come off of the 96, you know, Olympic team, and she had this whirlwind of like a college kind of career, and she was just killing, putting up incredible numbers. Both of them thought that I'm the girl. Cynthia's like, I'm the person, you know, and Cheryl's like, I'm the person. And I'm just looking at them like, Lord have mercy, like grow up, you know, like you guys are too mature for this, you know, and it was just so funny. So Kim was the one person, because her maturity level, like I personally didn't have the patience. I would let them go and then I'd be like, hey, like enough, you know, like, you know, we're not like, I'm a guy's girl, so I'm not the girl that does like the chick stuff, you know, so it's just kind of like going back and forth. I'm like, I can't, you know? So Kim was the one, she had the patience, like she could go and like, hey, let me talk to you, like, hey, let me talk to you. And then she'd be like, T, give him another chance. Like, don't just kind of like walk off and just be like, they need to grow up and not kind of like invest into the situation. So she was just that person that could communicate with everybody at any level and nobody take offense, because how she did it, where it was coming from, it was no doubt that it was pure, and she wanted to win. And she was just grateful to be in that circumstance with us. Now, she earned it, but Kim was the only player on our team that was picked from the open tryouts. So They had this open tryouts where they brought, I think it was like 270 something players. They picked one player like out of that group, and
that's amazing.
It was the smallest player. It was Kim. Like, she fought her way, just kind of through. I came at like the latter part of it, and I was like, I don't know who she is. Like, she's small, but she's good, And Coach Andrews like, he was like, no, she's too small. I don't like small guards. He just didn't want her. But she made him. She made him take her. And that was kind of all she wrote. And then to just kind of suddenly find out, and then it happened so fast. She went from being in practice to gone.
Yeah.
And, just going to Mexico and all these different places, getting treatments. And, we were falling apart because we were emotionally. Now, when we stepped on the floor, it was business as usual. But off the floor, Kim was her best friend. In that environment, she was a wreck. Cynthia was also her mom was sick as well. So we were just going through so much. The, competitive level of our practices were different because we were just emotionally drained. Mm-hmm. Our reality before that was, we knew that we were good because we felt like our practice every day were sometimes harder than the games we played.
Mm.
So that was different for us. We were just not ourselves. But knowing that we were doing it for her, when the lights turned on, it was just like, let's go to work. And then we'd walk off the floor. By the time we got to the locker room, I know me, crying, tears, just so emotionally overwhelmed. But we got through it. It was hard, but we figured it out. And then when we won our third one, if you look back at the pictures, like, we're all just like bawling. I sat down on the floor and they were just like, get up. And I was like, I can't, like, I'm tired. Like, I'm just tired, And we just kind of got it together. And then not long after that, she left us, and it was just not the same after that.
Yeah. Game 2, Liberty is coming back. Y'all going back and forth. Y'all going back and forth. The shot before the big shot, you and Cynthia Cooper run screen and roll on the wing. Yep. Give it to you. You come back, get it to you on the post. You turn off the backboard. Then Weatherspoon hit this heave of a shot. How did you feel like that game?
You see her face right now?
So, like, this face is, if you guys knew the story. So we are in a huddle. Like, I make that shot out of a timeout. So we're going to our regular, me and Cynthia, like, pick and roll, like our 2-man game, right? Coop is like, if I come off, like, set it. She didn't even have to say set a good screen. We run and see, like, it's the play that we run for years now, right? I'm like, I got you. I'm gonna set the screen. They play it a certain way. So we knew it was going to happen like either one or two ways. It's not even a question. Like, either you're going to score or I'm going to score. Like, that's just how we work, right? I say before we leave the huddle, Cynthia, who do you have? Cheryl, who do you have? We know who we have.
Everybody read back.
Yeah, cheering, running back. So I'm running back and I'm like, dude, you were supposed to pick her up. Like, we weren't giving anybody clean shots. So I literally, you probably can't see it, but I scream at Cynthia. But she's ready to play to the crowd. You know, she's all ready.
You ready to party?
Cheryl is hot, you know, like Cheryl wasn't even like that much of a dramatic like player, but she's jumping up and she's fist pumping and all this kind of stuff. So I leave my man to go back to try to like just get in,
get in the way.
Get in the way. But when I looked at Teresa's face, before I turned around, I had a feeling that it was going to go in because she looked too composed. She looked like it felt good. You know what I mean?
Right.
So when she says now, you know, when she talks about it, I knew that it was going in. I feel it, like I believe her because I saw it. You know what I mean? So I was pissed. We go to the locker room, and you know, I wasn't at that time. Since I've been a coach, I've changed it a little bit, but I didn't swear a lot. You know, so I don't swear in my that's but I go into my office and I say a lot of cuss words. So I didn't really cuss. When I went into that locker room, I was letting them reel. I'm like, my cousin, my uncle, who's a cussing machine, my dad, like literally I pulled from all of them. Like I was going crazy because in my mind, you guys know, I told you I'm Cali girl. I had already packed up my truck. It was on, you know, like an 18-wheeler already going back to LA. I had already shipped my boxes. Like I was home. So I was expecting to wrap this thing up and be home by Monday, you know? I had to change my flight because of parade. I was so angry. Now, of course, I knew we were going to come back and like win the next day, but just the fact that it didn't happen the way we were supposed to because they were cheering before it was time to cheer, I was pissed. Like, I was pissed. I'm still pissed right now. Anytime somebody brings it up, they'll be like, "Don't get her started."
I just remember that game, watching that game just all the time and just seeing that. And it was like, it was so intense, everybody into it, back and forth, they coming back, and it was like, all right, it's over with. Screen and roll with you and Coop, it's over with. You hit the jump, I'm like, yeah, it's over. Then she hit that, and it was like, wow.
It was like, wow. They're like, this is literally, the shot is everywhere. One of the greatest shots in history. And I'm like, but they didn't win. You know, like that's
but they still shot that shot like they won that championship, huh?
What? All the time. It is in everywhere. It's at the Hall of Fame. It's in the Naismith Hall of Fame. It is everywhere. They show that shot every single year. There is not a WNBA season that passed that there's not a commercial or something like that, or a game that happens that they don't show that shot. Forever embedded in history. It's crazy.
Let me ask you this. How was it for you when you had your son and then had to go back to playing? Like how hard and difficult was it for you to go through that experience and then have to get back in basketball shape?
It was tough because that was the only time in my life that I had ever been out of shape. So like I was one of those players that like even in the off season, I still maintained a level of being in shape. So I didn't have to like get back in shape. But when I was having Dylan, I was like, I'm not doing anything. Like I'm not lifting nothing. Like I'm not even walking. I'm not doing anything. So, but you know, he was really good to me. I didn't really gain very much weight. Like when I was like 5 months pregnant now, story. Not very many people know this, so I'm giving you guys like some inside information. But I didn't know that I was pregnant until I was like a little past 5 months.
Wow.
So my body was functioning normally. I'm not going to go into details.
Right.
You know, like I wasn't pregnant. So I didn't gain any weight. Like I had gained probably like 5 pounds, but you have to think that I played in the Olympics and I was pregnant. I finished the WNBA season and I was pregnant, not knowing that I was pregnant. So I went, you know, like 3 months, not, knowing, almost 4 months. And then after the season, I just wasn't feeling good. Like I just wasn't feeling good. My stomach was feeling really funny. So like I went to the doctor. Dylan's dad and I went to the doctor, and I was just like, my stomach, like something is not, I was drinking ginger ale thinking that I wasn't a soda drinker. So my stomach just started going crazy. And then they do this ultrasound and all this kind of stuff. And they're like, do you think you could be pregnant? I mean, I was like, no, I mean, just because, but I have done stuff that caused you to be pregnant, but no, I shouldn't be, because, my girl's gonna have, it's like, whatever. So they do this ultrasound, come back, and the doctor is like, I have good news and bad news. Like, which one do you want to hear first? And I'm like, give me the good news first. And he goes, well, the baby's fine. And he goes on such and such. So I'm like,
the baby.
So then he's looking at, like my face, like our faces, and he's like, wait a minute.
Y'all didn't know?
Yes. So he just starts freaking out, because of course he's seen the ultrasound, like we can't see. He's like, it's a real live baby in there. Like, like we're not talking about a little, like it's a serious baby in there. But you guys, I had only gained, I was 6 pounds over like my actual, like, playing weight. But it was because for me, we just won the Olympics. We had this long season, long year. Like I was kind of like chilling. So I wasn't like, no big deal. It wasn't a big deal to me. I could still, wear my clothes and everything. So, I mean, it wasn't, I had no idea, considering that life was going on as normal. So I freaked out. I panicked. Like we were in Miami. Like he said I couldn't fly for 3 days. Like I went home and, I called my mom, and it just, we just kind of like start preparing. Like I was in a fog for probably the next month and a half, like 2 months. But, it was just kind of one of those things where, like you just make it happen, you just kind of go with it. You just do what you're supposed to do, and I had Dylan. I came back, I played that year. I had him May 12th. I was back playing in the season by July. So I didn't do anything, but like as soon as I was ready to play, it was probably about, I waited 6 weeks, and then it was another 6 weeks where I just grinded like every day. I was doing 2 a days just in the gym. Like my guys are Melvin Hunt and Brent Johnson. They were in Mel and BJ in the gym with me, like just working like we always did, because it's what we did, when I was Houston anyway. But
and Mel was talking plenty crap.
He was, well, they used to play with us, which is crazy. Like
I remember when we came and worked out for Houston, he was in he was out there trying to do his little thing against you, talking crap in the workout. I said, get out of here, man.
Yeah, BJ, they could play. I mean, they were players, but that staff was good. They were like our practice guys. So, you just kind of like make it happen. Like for me, there was no doubt that I wasn't going to play. And, my mom came, like she was there. So she kind of helped me with Dylan in like those early months. So, he wouldn't have to be out and things like that. And then once he was old enough, we rolled. I went overseas, took him with me. My mom came, and that's just how it was, from that point on until Dylan was old enough. Like we were a trio. So they went to road games. They went wherever I went. And, that was kind of like my crew, and we just made it happen.
That's awesome.
How was it, like, you leaving Houston, somewhere where you can grow, made friends, it's kind of home now, and you get traded and go back home to LA to play for the women's professional team in your hometown? How was that experience? And to play with Lisa Leslie, a young Candace Parker, like a squad over there for you to come to and get down.
So, well, I actually wasn't traded. Like what happened is that our franchise disbanded. So like that was the year that the Houston Comets dissolved.
Yeah,
So
I
Les
remember
didn't
this.
want to, have a WNBA team anymore. Like the Rockets were kind of struggling and we were like doing well, but the Rockets were their big business. So, he was just like, he needs his entire staff to focus on the Rockets. So he decided that he didn't want to do the comments anymore. And then he sold the team. And, he sold it to a guy that was very advantageous, but just could not just uphold, the cost and everything to run our team. And they couldn't find someone to buy it in time. So the franchise basically folded. So I became a free agent. So I was never a free agent because they would put the franchise tag on me every year. So I was never able to be a free agent. So I was always going to be with the Comets. Um, so it was just a choice. And for me, I mean, the reason why I went back home was because my grandmother was older, like she was a big fan, and I wanted to be able to kind of give her the opportunity to see me play as much as I could. It just brought her so much joy. And I wanted to be home. My grandmothers, like they were my girls. So I was really, really, really close to both of them. So just being able to be home and go and see her as much as I could, and Dylan, be around her. I wanted Dylan to start school in Los Angeles, so it was perfect timing. I was even thinking about going home or retiring even before then. I felt like him growing up in LA was important just because of the diversity. And, when you grow up in an environment where you're around all types of people, like how you think, like how you judge people, and your perspective is totally different. So that was really important to me for him to be in a very diverse environment. So, I mean, I chose LA more so because of personal reasons versus, the basketball reasons. But, it was great to be able to play with, all-stars and future Hall of Famers, because I believe Candace will for sure, Can will be a Hall of Famer, like easy call.
Yeah.
How was Seattle? Because I was in that Northwest and it rained 300 out of 365 days. So how did Seattle treat you during that summer? It still rained, didn't it?
Listen, Seattle was amazing because the people.
I was about to,
What are you going to say, Q?
I love Seattle.
I love Seattle too, but it rains a lot.
I didn't love Seattle in the winter, so we got out of it. I remember the first year that I got there. Yeah, the first year that I got there, it was raining in May, like every day. And for me, being in Los Angeles, from growing up in Los Angeles and being in Houston, it's hot. You're wearing flip-flops and tank tops and shorts. So I was just like, how do they deal with this? Like, this is crazy. Like, it puts a cloud over you, like a gloom. So when they were like, people suffer from depression in this environment, I got it. Because as soon as the sun came out, like, even we changed, and I literally, they were laughing at me, but like one day I came to practice and my teammates were like, you are like, your vibe is different, your energy. And I was like, dude, I think I was depressed for a couple months. And they were like, you are not depressed. And I'm like, no, seriously. Like, my whole household is different. It does, like, do something to you. But once the sun comes out in Seattle, it is beautiful. The people are beautiful. My time there was my best professional experience as a whole. We didn't win the way we won in Houston. We didn't have the same, type of players that we had in Los Angeles, but from just a team perspective, it was the first time that I had been on a team where I had a relationship with everybody and we did stuff together all the time. So me going to Seattle, it was tough to leave home, but Seattle worked out the best. It was a great way to leave the game.
You spoke on how when you first was gonna be the number one overall WNBA pick, and they was trying to throw peanuts at you, basically, right?
Right.
And you walked out of the office and was like, "I'm good." Tell me what you think about the progress being made in the new CBA and the, you know, some of the upgrades they're trying to situate with the WNBA. And I mean, it's still a lot of work to be done, but just with the work that they have achieved now, like how do you feel about, you know, the process and how it's played out so far?
Um, I think that that was a great move, and everybody behind that did an incredible job. It has legitimized, you know, the WNBA in a way that when you think about the money that the women are able to receive, it already makes them a professional without any question. You know,
Yeah.
when, you know, people look at your profession and have a level of respect, you know, about it, but sometimes based on the amount of money you make. And it doesn't necessarily mean like how good your job, how good you are at your job, but they consider you a professional, you know, by, you know, what your paycheck looks like. And I think that not only do they deserve it, but their games, the product, should be supported in that way. Like we have earned it. So I was excited. I'm still excited about where they are now and the possible progress and just kind of moving from there. Like it's legitimate now. Like it was, but it was cute, you know. Now it's respectable.
Absolutely.
Did you ever think starting in this league that you would lead the WNBA in scoring before you retire?
No, not at all. Like I didn't even think like that. So, you know, when people are like, how do you feel about that? Like I don't feel any way. I know it sounds crazy, but I'm not surprised. You know, I'm like, if you know how much work that I put in, like I'm not
Right.
surprised that like, you know, when I shot the ball, it went in. Like I was in there all day long, like shot
Yeah.
after shot. So for me, it's like it's supposed to go in. Like my reaction more so would be when I didn't make shots. I was more emotional at that, you know, versus when they went in because I'm like, they are supposed to go in. Like I have been working at this, like practicing over and over and over again. Just from the perspective of like records and accolades and stuff like that, I wanted to win first and foremost. So I don't care like how we got it. I just wanted to win. I had no idea how many points that I scored, and it didn't become a thing until they started talking about it. You know, I was in LA, so I knew that Lisa was, but I didn't know where I was, you know, in comparison, you know, to her. So when it started happening, people wanted like this reaction, and I'm like, okay, like it's cool. Like I need to get these points so that it's over, so we can start focusing back, you know, on the game. And then, you know, it became a thing again because the person that actually surpassed me was Diana Taurasi, you know, and we're all California girls, you know, so it's just a really dope, you know, kind of connection. Like first it was Lisa, and then it was myself, and now Diana. And you know, Diana is my girl. You know, if I had to
Yeah.
pick a franchise, then you know she's gonna be my pick, 1A or 1B. Like I rock with Diana because she is a dog and she's just like
Yeah,
a
she
girl
cold.
after my own heart. Like I love her, so I was totally excited for her. But you know, for me, it's kind of, you know, just par for the course. It happens if you're focused enough, you work hard enough, and you're there long enough. Because I was there for a long time.
Yeah, 17. 17 is long.
When I was younger, when the WNBA came out, me and my mom, we picking our teams. So her team was the Comets, which won the first four, which she used to kill me about.
We
But
had
she
this
was like
conversation. Do
every
you remember
time that,
that?
huh?
We had this conversation when you were in the league. Do you remember you
Yeah,
telling me
yeah,
that?
Yeah.
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 I was like,
Okay.
and she used to be like, my girl with the lipstick,
Yep.
she on TV. So I always go in there and watch it. What made you wear the lipstick in the game and
And make it iconic the
make
way
it
you did.
iconic? Like,
You guys, it's so funny because like people would assume that I was wearing the lipstick because I was trying to be cute. And I'm like, that had absolutely nothing to do with it. Like me wearing the lipstick started when I was at USC. So again, I told you guys I was a nerd, so this is a very like nerd thing. But I, in my freshman year, in my first and second semester, I had 22 and 20 units. which is a crazy amount
A
because like,
lot.
the average is 12. So I was just crazy busy. So by the time I got up to like the end, I'm just busy. So our second exhibition game we played and I'm rushing. Like I get to the gym, everybody's already there. Like some people are out there shooting already. So I get, I'm putting my stuff on or whatever. I forgot to actually take off my lipstick. And we go into the game, and I can't remember what teammate it was, but one of them's like, you still have your lipstick on. So I was just like, it's too late now. And, I'm kind of like little OCD. So I wasn't going to take it off out there because it's a matte lipstick. So some might still be on or not. So I just left it on. And y'all, I was balling. Like I killed in that game. So like after the game, one of my teammates was like, dude, like it must have been the lipstick. Like, so I'm like, whatever, because I'm not superstitious or just whatever. But of course, in my mind, I was like, it must have been the lipstick. I ain't
never taking it off every time.
Never. So being a kid, I'm like 18 years old. I'm like, this is gonna just be a part of my uniform. So from that moment on, like I wore it.
Did a coach ever say something to you about it?
No. Well, Cheryl Miller was my coach. So you guys didn't know this, but the coach that recruited me, Marianne Stanley, actually didn't coach me in my first year because she had a contract situation and it was like this Title IX thing and her contract expired. So she never got to coach me. And then they hired Cheryl Miller. So Cheryl was my coach for my freshman and my sophomore year until she left and went to TNT.
Okay.
So, for me, our team, they had gotten recruited by Marianne. So they were like, Cheryl Miller, like what? Because Marianne was a very good coach and they had a relationship with her. So, Lisa and, our group of seniors, like they just didn't, take to Cheryl really easy. But me, I grew up in LA. If there was a basketball team that I knew, it was USC women's basketball. So I'm like, Cheryl Miller is getting ready to be my coach. So instantly, Cheryl and I were like this. And their brain and everything. And, starting out, she wasn't a very good coach, but she was a baller. So she could just talk the game and she could just tell you. And there were just things that she could say where I like got it because she was talking to me.
Talking your language.
A student of the game, she's like, this is what you do. T, you hit him with this and you hit him with that and this gonna be over. And I was like, I got you, And so I loved it, and she was just cool like that. Just kind of, she's like a free spirit and Cheryl just kind of does her thing. She set a standard. It's just kind of who she is. So she allowed us to be, whoever we were, as long as it wasn't offensive.
So at what point did you feel or did you know like, hey, I could be a coach, or when did you get bit by the coaching bug and think that this is something that I have a passion for to do?
Oh, absolutely did not. Like every single one of my friends were like, dude, how did you become a coach? Because for me, it was like, I would never, ever, ever coach. When I was a player, like all of my coaches would be like, Tina, you would be an amazing coach. And I'm like, you guys know, like your coaches, like they are stressed out, like don't sleep. And I'm already like I was already not like a good sleeper. So I was just kind of like, I don't want those kind of problems in my life. And how they age, so like coaches age fast, from that stress. I was just like, So I retired. Me and Dylan, we were just at home. We were like chilling. We were traveling. We were, going to LA. He was still being homeschooled at the time. And we were just kind of like living our best lives. And the head coach at Texas had an opening. So she called me. And the reason why she called me is because I started mentoring like this group of girls or a couple kids like in the Houston area because one of my friends was a trainer. So he was like, I have these kids and they're like really good. Can you just come by and just talk to them? So, I did. And, and just kind of, they were like great kids. So it went from me just kind of mentoring them because, he was the trainer to me actually being in the gym with them and, just showing them like just kind of how to like navigate through this game, and just little stuff like here and there, perfecting their game. And one of the kids actually went to Texas, so she became a McDonald All-American, both of them were. And she went to Texas, so the coach asked her parents, like, what's going on with Jordan, like how, like she's improved, like so fast, she's using her left hand and just like little things. So the mom is like, oh, she's been working out with Tina Thompson. So the coach is like, Tina Thompson, like how is she, in the gym with Tina Thompson? So she called me. I'm assuming that she was calling me to talk about Jordan. So she did. She talked about, the kid. And then she said, we have a position, here like on our staff. So she's kind of telling me about it, and I'm kind of like, but like, why is she telling me this? And so she goes, what do you think? So I go, oh, like I have like tons of like teammates that like want to get into coaching or whatever. So I can for sure like find somebody, because I did not think at any point that she was offering me the job. So I said that, and then she was kind of like quiet. So I'm like, hello? Because I was in my truck, like, we were on Bluetooth. And she was like, oh no, like I was offering you the job. And I just bust out laughing. Because just the shock of it or whatever. And she was kind of quiet again. And I just was like, okay, she didn't think that was funny. So I go, I really appreciate that, but no, like I'm newly retired, and I'm just not interested in coaching. And she just wouldn't stop calling me. And I just said, like, man, we'll try it, And then I got there, hated it. Like it was the worst. Like the time, like in the office, it was so grueling, but I loved the kids and had a connection with them in a very short period of time. They grew in ways that like they hadn't grown before. So that bit me. And it was literally more time consuming than when I was a professional athlete, when I was a player, which I didn't expect, so, but, the kids, and I'm like, I can't leave them, but just the work side of it, the adults, adjusting to that. I was like, this is more than kind of I bargained for. But Amani, before I got there, she had already planned to go to business school, and she had a job lined up. This kid is 6'6", and she's an athlete. She didn't even want to go to the WNBA. She was that off of basketball. So I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, you're 6'6". Like, how many people looking like you do you see walking around? You can make a whole career out of this. Like, how do you just say, I don't want to do it? She's just like, I'm tired of basketball. My experience is this, because she's really, really smart. I'm just, I'm going to just dive into other, ventures and experiences, in different aspects of my life. I'm like, girl, please. You're going to the WNBA. And she was like, you think I can go to the WNBA? I was, look, follow me. We're going to get you there. Commit to this process. We got about 6 months. And I'm telling you, yeah, you'll go. You'll be a lottery pick. She's like, what? I'm like, you'll be a lottery pick. She went 10. So, it kind of worked out. And then after that, it just changed just kind of how the kids like looked at the game and what was like possible for them, and just being able to do that and, change their lives or give them a certain kind of like hope that they didn't have before. I was like, I don't like this in the office side of it, but like, I love these kids, and, it would be a blessing to kind of be able to pour into them. But the goal then was, I need to run my own show. So, I am head coaching now, and, I coach my kids the way I played, and, we have fun, although we work our, what's off, and I'm growing their person, not just their talent. And it's fun. A lot of work, but it's fun.
How do you feel about like lately in college? It's been a lot more women being hired, and also a lot more women of color. And I love the fact that you, like I told Jerry Stackhouse this the other day, that I love the fact that you as a former player played 17 years, really did it at every level, won, and you got things in your mind and that you experienced as a player that some normal coaches that didn't play the game at this high level, you can relate in a different way. So I love seeing all of our former players, women and men, get back in the game at college and NBA levels. So I salute that. But how do you feel about the uptick of all of the hiring and coaching?
I think that it's amazing. I think that it's necessary to have more coaches of color in leadership, like in this game. Like, we're coaching us. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, why not? Why is there not? But, I think with anything in the world, like evolution and things like have to happen a certain way in order for us to get to a certain point. I love what Dawn Staley is doing over at South Carolina in her career.
Yeah.
She's in a position of leadership and she's setting a standard, which I believe will continue to create opportunities. I would urge more former players to get into coaching. I know that it's a huge change, like in lifestyle, but what you have to offer is amazing. It is one thing to be able to teach someone how to do something, but teaching it from a perspective of, I know this works because I did it and I did it well. So I'm not teaching you something that I saw. I'm teaching you something that I did.
What did it mean to you to be honored in the Hall of Fame?
Never, ever, ever, ever in my life have I ever said, I want to be in the Naismith Hall of Fame. Like, it's just not something that you say. Like, I'm not even the person that says, I want to be an MVP or I want to be an all-star. Like, I don't talk like that. Like, the only thing that I wanted to be is I wanted to be an Olympian. And then it was like, I want to be the best player that I can be. So that was my goal, like being the best version of myself. So when that happened, I was like, what? So, my circle, they're like, so everybody's like, T, like, what are you talking about? Like, this is the inevitable. This is the inevitable. This is how it's supposed to be.
It's time.
So I'm like, dude, I'm just thinking, I'm like, Kareem is in the Hall of Fame.
Right.
Magic is my guy. Magic is in the Hall of Fame. And then I'm just going down. I'm like, the big O is in there. George Gervin is my guy.
Iceman.
Even though I was a Showtime Laker fan, I'm like, Larry Bird was cold. That team, so it was just like, I couldn't stand him, but I respected him, and then it's like, Michael, you just think. So I'm going to be hanging out with Michael Jordan in the Hall of Fame. So that's how my brain is just like going. Like, it's just so overwhelming. Like, this just doesn't. So even today, it has all happened. I've dressed up. I've done the speech. My family was there. I'm still like, my goodness. I just can't. It's going to take me time. Like, it's going to take me years because I'm so grateful. And, when you look at the numbers, I guess it makes sense. But, I didn't look at numbers. I looked at wins. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, I always want to win. Whatever it is that I'm doing, I want to win. I want to win at being the best mom. I want to win at being like everything that I do. I want to perfect it in a way that something, kind of beautiful or amazing, like, comes out of it. So, that's kind of like, my beautiful moment, like, at the end of it, but it's still like, are you serious? Like, I can't believe that this is, it's just crazy. So I'm overjoyed by it.
Well, all right, man, that's been a wrap, man. This was super, super dope, legendary, Hall of Fame status. You know what I'm saying? And she came in here with the swaggy hat. We got to give you the award for the swaggiest appearance on the show thus far. That hat is fly.
Thanks,
This
guys.
was Tina Thompson, legendary Hall of Fame, and now head coach of the University of Virginia.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate you having me. I think this is one of the best interviews that I've had ever. Just cool. I mean, you know how it is. Like, when you are talking basketball with people that talk basketball, like, it's a different environment. It's a different vibe. So I appreciate it. I enjoyed being here.